Greetings, everyone. In today's session, we will delve deeper into process groups and examine their relationship with the concept of phases in project management. Understanding the flow of the process groups and how they relate to the phases in a project is a very important skill that you should know as a project manager. The life cycle of a project can be spread over one phase or many phases, depending on the size and complexity of the project. I know I have introduced a new term, phases, for my viewers, but be patient and stay with me. Let's understand this term with the help of our previous example of cooking. While cooking a dish, you will have to go through few phases. As a project manager, you create phases for the project. The 5 process groups, initiating, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing, lie within each phase of a project. Each phase of the project will have some kind of deliverable as its output. Now let's divide our cooking project into 3 phases. In phase 1, you will have to select the dish and the deliverable will be a selected dish. In phase 2, you will cook it. The deliverable will be cooked food. In phase 3, you will set the crockery and cutlery on the dining table. The deliverable will be well-organized table ready for fine dining. Actually, the 5 process groups are what create those outputs for each phase within the project. Deliverable and output has the same meaning. Phases can overlap. You can be initiating in one phase while still monitoring and controlling previous one. For instance, while you are cooking food in phase 2, you will be initiating and planning phase 3 by setting up crockery and cutlery. Smaller projects typically have fewer phases and often consist of just one due to their limited scope. I hope you are not getting afraid as we dive deeper into the concepts. Let me just summarize what we have learned so far. Projects are divided into phases. Each phase goes through 5 process groups, that is initiating, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing, and 49 processes live within those process groups. So each phase of the project has 5 process groups comprising of 49 processes. The goal of the 49 processes is to create a final product, service or result. We all call it deliverable. Anyway, you must be wondering, every time this man talks, he brings up something new, but please don't worry. I will help you swim this river as well. Due to space issue on the slide, I have not mentioned 49 processes. However, they are listed in these columns and rows. You will find them in PMBOK very easily. So the question arises, do we really need to apply all 49 processes for every project or project phase? The answer is no, because each project is unique and some processes may not be necessary depending on the project's specific needs. To determine which processes are relevant, the expertise of a project manager and the project management office PMO is essential to tailor the approach accordingly. However, for students preparing for the exam, it is important to assume that all 49 processes are followed in each project phase, as outlined in the PMBOK guide. Remember, since this is a PMI exam, they will expect you to understand and apply all processes across phases as described. The PMBOK guide is a comprehensive generic resource designed to apply to all types of the projects. So the next question which arrives in our mind is, should we memorize all the 49 processes for exam? I would say yes. I recommend it because it will help you understand the flow of processes. Make sure you memorize them across the rows horizontally rather than down the columns vertically. Now let's dive deeper and explore what are these processes and how do they work. As you can see on the screen, each process requires an input to begin, then tools and techniques are applied to produce an output. Across the 49 processes, there are 239 inputs, 245 tools and techniques, and 181 outputs. In total, there are 665 inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs. The list is available in the PMBOK. Now, you might be wondering if you need to memorize all of them. The answer is no. Instead, focus on understanding why an input may be essential or how a tool supports the project manager in carrying out the process. Many of the processes have the same inputs, tools and techniques and outputs which we will discuss in this section. So let's discuss common components of inputs first. So let's begin with the most common input, that is enterprise environmental factor, also written as EEF in short form. Enterprise environmental factors can impact project outcomes both positively and negatively. For instance, government regulations may introduce delays due to the time required of approval processes before a product can be sold to the public. Enterprise environmental factors may be internal, such as the software tools a company uses on projects, or external, such as the regulatory requirements that must be followed. Examples of enterprise environmental factors include organizational culture, structure, and governance, government or industry standards, including regulations or quality standards, infrastructure such as facilities and equipment, personal management practices, stakeholders' risk tolerances, company work authorization systems, which ensure that work begins at the appropriate time and in the correct sequence, information technology software used for project management, which may assist the project manager with budgeting, scheduling, and requirement management. Now let's move on to the most commonly used input, that is organizational process assets. Organizational process assets consist of an organization's plans, processes, policies, procedures, and knowledge bases, and are generally divided into processes, procedures, and organizational knowledge. These assets support project managers by streamlining project management tasks. For instance, when creating a project plan, a template or previous project plan can be highly beneficial. Similarly, estimates from past projects can inform more accurately while planning. Examples of organizational process assets include previous project plans, templates, historical information, lessons learned, knowledge bases, software tools, organizational procedures and policies, project management databases, project files from previous projects. Now let's move on to project documents. Project documents are any records related to the project and are a frequent input across the 49 processes. Unlike components of the project management plan, project documents are additional materials created and utilized throughout these processes. There are 33 different project documents, and you can find list of them in the PMBOK. In each process, one or more of these documents may be used as inputs. For instance, in the define scope process, which produces the project scope statement, project documents can be an input. The project manager might use requirement documentation to help draft the scope statement. Ultimately, it is up to the project manager to determine which documents will be useful for a specific process. Project management plan. The project management plan is the most critical document in the project, as it defines how the project will be executed, monitored, controlled, and closed. With numerous components, this plan serves as a central input to many of the 49 processes. Since the project management plan comprises 18 components, any of these may be relevant as specific inputs within different processes. The PMBOK guide often uses the phrase include but not are limited to, meaning that while certain documents are recommended for a particular process, the project manager has the flexibility to incorporate additional documents as needed. For example, in the control costs process used by the project manager to ensure the project remains on budget, the project management plan is an essential input. This process requires access to multiple plan components such as the cost baseline and the cost management plan, which outlines steps to maintain budget compliance. As demonstrated, some processes necessitate multiple elements from the project management plan to be effectively carried out. As I said earlier, there are 18 components of project management plan, and you can find the list of them in the PMBOK. Now let's move on and discuss common components in tools and techniques. So let's start with expert judgment. Expert judgment is a common tool used in planning. It involves bringing in experts or subject matter experts to help plan or carry out a process. These experts have specialized knowledge or skills in a specific area, industry, or technology. For example, if you need to create a project charter and are unsure how to start, you can hire an expert to guide you through the process. The next one is data gathering. As the name suggests, data gathering is a tool used to collect information about a specific process. Sometimes you need to gather extra data before you can create an output for the process. For example, when creating a project charter, you might meet with stakeholders to brainstorm ideas on what should and shouldn't be included. Brainstorming is one of the techniques used in data gathering to gather information for a project. Let's discuss some of the data gathering techniques you might use. Brainstorming. This involves gathering a group of stakeholders to generate and discuss ideas. The project manager usually leads these sessions to make sure everyone's input is included. Next one is interviews. When you need detailed insights, interviewing specific stakeholders can be helpful. Interviews let you ask questions to learn more about their opinions and needs. Focus groups. Focus groups bring together experts to discuss their views on the project and share how they would approach different challenges. Checklist. A checklist is often provided by the organization to stakeholders. It helps them identify what they want and don't want in the project, as well as define their success criteria. Questionnaire and surveys. These tools allow stakeholders to share their needs and preferences for the project in detail. Using these data gathering techniques helps ensure that you understand what stakeholders want, which leads to more effective project planning. Now let's discuss data analysis. Data analysis is a process used to examine and interpret the data collected during a project. The project manager and team gather various types of data throughout the project and then analyze this information to make informed decisions. For instance, in the control schedule process, data about the project schedule is collected and analyzed to determine whether the project is on track, ahead, or behind schedule. Here are some commonly used data analysis techniques applicable to any project processes. Other techniques may also be used based on specific process requirements. So let's begin with alternative analysis. This technique involves examining different ways to achieve a task or implement a change. For example, when evaluating a change request, alternative analysis helps identify multiple methods to implement the change. It is one of the most widely used analysis tools in the PMBOK. Root cause analysis. RCA. Root cause analysis is used to identify the primary cause of an issue. For instance, if a deliverable has defects, the project manager can use RCA to determine the underlying reason for those defects. Variance analysis. Variance analysis identifies the differences between planned and actual values. For example, a project manager may use this technique to compare the budgeted costs with actual spending to see if the project is on budget. Trend analysis. Trend analysis examines data over time to identify patterns or trends. For instance, during project execution, the project manager may use trend analysis to monitor whether the project remains within budget consistently or shows signs of overspending. These data analysis techniques are essential tools for project managers to assess projects' performance and make data-driven decisions. Now let's discuss decision making. In many processes, data is gathered and then a decision must be made based on that information. Decision making is a tool used to make choices that best serve the project. Below are some common decision making techniques. Through additional methods may be applied depending on the specific process. Voting. A group decision making method where participants vote on whether to proceed, change, or reject an option. Voting can take different forms. Majority rule, where the option with the most votes wins. Unanimity, where everyone must agree. Or plurality, where a majority is not obtained but the decision is chosen. Multi-criteria decision analysis. This involves creating a matrix listing various criteria to evaluate options. For example, when selecting a team member, a project manager might evaluate criteria like availability, experience, education, and cost. A table can be created to compare each candidate against these criteria. Autocratic decision making. In this approach, a single person makes the decision on behalf of the team. These techniques provide structured methods to guide effective decision making in project management. Let's discuss next tool, that is data representation. Data representation is a tool used throughout the PMBOK to visually communicate data to stakeholders. Common methods include charts, matrices, and various types of diagrams. Some processes may have specific tailored ways to present their data, which will be discussed in the relevant sections. Next one is interpersonal and team skills. Strong interpersonal and team skills are essential for project managers to effectively engage and manage various stakeholders. These skills are considered some of the most valuable tools in real-life project management. A project manager lacking in people and team management skills will likely face significant challenges. Below are key interpersonal and team skill techniques commonly used in project management. Active listening involves fully understanding, acknowledging, and clarifying what others are communicating. The next one is conflict management. Conflicts are natural when working with a team. Project managers must be skilled in resolving conflicts to keep the project on track. Various conflict management methods will be discussed in the project resource management video. Facilitation. Facilitation involves guiding a group through discussions, idea generation, problem solving, and decision making. Project managers often facilitate team interactions to ensure productive collaboration among stakeholders. Meeting management. Projects typically involve numerous meetings with various stakeholders. Effective meeting management ensures that meetings are productive and goal oriented. This includes setting an agenda, inviting the appropriate participants, establishing a time limit, and following up with team notes and action items. These interpersonal and team skills are critical for successful project management and contribute to a well functioning and cohesive project team. Now, let's discuss another tool, that is meetings. Meetings are frequently used across the 49 project management processes and can be conducted either face to face or virtually. They often involve a variety of stakeholders throughout the project life cycle. To ensure meetings are effective, consider the following best practices. Prepare and share an agenda with all attendees in advance. Schedule specific start and end times for each topic and for the overall meeting. Keep discussions focused and avoid straying from the agenda. Encourage inputs from all participants on each topic. Share detailed meeting minutes with attendees after the meeting concludes. Now let's move on to the next tool, that is Project Management Information System, PMIS. The Project Management Information System is an automated system designed to assist the project manager in optimizing schedules, managing documents, and tracking deliverables. Typically, it comprises the computer systems, softwares, and hardware that an organization uses to manage projects from initiation through completion. The PMIS includes two key subsystems: Work Authorization System and Configuration Management System. Work Authorization System ensures that project tasks are executed in the correct sequence and at the appropriate time. Configuration Management System manages the product settings and configuration to meet project specification. It includes a change management system which documents, tracks, and controls project changes by ensuring that all changes are properly authorized or rejected. Overall, the Project Management Information System provides a structured approach for tracking and managing all aspects of the project effectively. These practices help make meetings productive and meaningful for the project. Now let's discuss some common components of outputs. First one is change request. A change request is a common output in the execution, monitoring and controlling and closing phases of a project. It occurs when a stakeholder, such as a customer, sponsor, or project manager, requests a modification to the project management plan. These changes can include adjusting the project scope, example adding or removing work, accelerating the timeline, or reducing the costs. Change requests can implement corrective actions, preventive actions, and defect repairs. So what are corrective actions? Corrective actions are the steps taken to bring the project back on track when it deviates from the plan. Whereas preventive action deals with the measures put in place to ensure the project stays on track and avoids future issues. Defect repair deals with the actions to fix problems in the project, such as replacing a faulty component. Example, a malfunctioning network switch in a network upgrade. Before we proceed, I have an important announcement to make. If you are a PMP aspirant, I encourage you to check the description box of my video for essential links. Let's move on to the next common output, that is work performance data. Work performance data represents raw, unprocessed data regarding the work that has been completed. It simply provides the status of the work but lacks any analysis. By itself, work performance data is not particularly useful. It typically comes from the execution processes. For example, a mason may report that he completed building a room with white bricks in 5 days at a cost of $1,000. While this information is valuable, it doesn't provide insight into the overall project status. It's just a record of what has been done so far. Work performance information. Work performance information is the analysis of work performance data compared against the project management plan. It provides actual status updates on deliverables, offering a more useful insights into project progress. For example, continuing with the Mason scenario, the work performance information would indicate that the room was built with the correct bricks and within scope. The task was completed on schedule, but the cost of $1,000 exceeded the original budget of $800. Work performance information therefore represents the comparison between raw data and the project management plan and is typically the output of monitoring and controlling processes. Work performance report. A work performance report provides a comprehensive overview of the project's actual status. It consolidates all the work performance information into a single document, summarizing key aspects of the project's progress. This report typically combines insights from all monitoring and controlling processes. For example, a work performance report might state the project is on scope and on schedule but over budget. The process involves taking raw work performance data, comparing it against the project management plan to create work performance information, and then compiling that information into a work performance report. In essence, data is analyzed to produce information, and that information is then used to generate the report. Let's move on to the next output, that is updates. The term updates serve as a broad category. Throughout the project lifecycle, as you complete various planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling and closing processes, you will often need to update different documents and processes. These updates can involve changes to project documents, the project management plan, and updates to organizational process assets and enterprise environmental factors. You will encounter these updates frequently throughout the project. Project management plan updates refer to modifications made to one or more components of the project management plan after a process is completed. For example, during the control schedule process, updates to the project management plan are necessary to reflect the completed work and any changes to the schedule. Project documents updates involves revisions to any of the 33 project documents. For instance, if a new risk is identified during the identify risk process, the project manager must update the relevant project document such as the risk register to capture this information. In short, updates are a common output that ensures project documents and plans remain current and reflect the ongoing progress and changes throughout the project. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate the time and attention of all my viewers. For those of you preparing for project management exams or certifications, I encourage you to explore my other videos for more in-depth coverage on related topics.